everything's set up. I think we are finally good. Everything's, yes, and my cat's down there. So, why are we here today? Well, you can see Maji King here, but we're not here to talk about Sentai robots. We're here to talk about other types of robots. What types of robots may they be? No, they're not Japanese. Today, we'll be talking about the X-Men 1997 Sentinel. This beauty. Oh, I'm so anxious to open this up. I originally had the HasLab one, but I had an idea. In order to execute this idea, I had to sell that. You will find out what I plan to do with that momentarily. But here we've got this giant box with all the characters around them and a roster at the bottom. I mean, one of the big differences between this and the HasLab one is, one, it's a little smaller, and two, there's no bonus figures and there are no electronics that go in with this, which is fine, because if I'm going to have this on display, I don't need lights or sounds, because it's just going to stand there. Okay. How do we get all of this in one shot? This is heavy. I'm on a ironing board basically right now, praying things don't go flying, because they have before. So we've got an inner box. Gentle, Baron, gentle. It just keeps going and going. Okay, there we go. Outer shell is done. Away. Why does it feel like I'm opening up a tiny casket? Is this a child's casket? Okay. So there is tape on the top and tape on the bottom, of which I'm not sure which end is which at this point anymore. Whew, okay. So it's just a cardboard covering here, which is keeping me from plastic satisfaction. Can you tell I like to nerd out about toys? Don't I do it every time? Okay, that. Let's bring our big guy out of the package. Let's put her away. Let's take out all the accessories so we can show them off. And we can put this away too. I don't have much room to work with here. Okay. We've taken him out of his casket. We are now taking him out of his body bag. It's all right. I'm a vet tech. I'm used to this. He's beautiful. He's fully healthy. Okay, so first thing I'm noticing, which would explain, some bit of why it costs less in addition to the size and the lack of electronics. Woo! Ratchet. Oh, we got ratchet shoulders. The plastic here is, because they're bigger pieces, it's a little hollow. So why this does definitely have some heft to it. I would almost be afraid that if this fell, parts of this would crack open. So on high shelves, this will not go. So this is from the 97 line, which the figures themselves are a little, sometimes softer sculpted to look a little more cartoony accurate. However, so one of the main things about getting these was that with the HasLab, it was an awesome toy. However, it's not exactly the Sentinel that I would want. It was more of a modern take. When I think of X-Men Sentinels, this boy is what I think of. Not only because of the 90s cartoon, but this more or less is the classic comic book design, eventually. So we got a lot of ratcheting joints, which is great because he's so big. It'll help him keep the limbs up and whatnot. But we've got, so there are no little tentacle things like the HasLab one came with. However, we have blasts, but I also noticed he is missing a chest piece, which I should have in here somewhere. There we go. And if you remember the 90s X-Men cartoon line from Toy Biz, there was a Sentinel that was sort of designed, there we go, to look like this. It was like a giant figure, mini playset type of thing because it had all these interactive features. There was a claw that would come out of the hand, the chest could pop out, and you could hide a figure in here. The feet, parts of the feet would jettison, so he would fall over, among a couple of other things, if I recall. But okay, we've got our guy complete now. He's got a lot of articulation in the fingers, which is cool. Normally, I would be worried about all of this articulation, but because he's a larger size figure, that doesn't bother me. If he was something smaller, we'd be back in the Toy Biz Marvel Legends days now, wouldn't we? I don't want any slappy hands. And Benny is screaming out the distance like he normally does. So we've got some blast effects here, which plug into the hand. We have tiny ones, we've got big ones. Okay. Oh, okay. So what I thought, like with a lot of figures, it's just this feathery, blast piece. However, there are multiple pieces to which you can make like a combo blast, which looks a hell of a lot cooler. We've got Exterminate. And he also comes with battle damage pieces. So we've got an alternate battle damage faceplate, an alternate damaged centerpiece with exposed cables, and then if you want to swap out, I mean, you can make varying combinations here, but you can do it with this way, you can do it that way. The top comes off. I like how there's silver in here. I'm sorry, gray rather than just more of this magenta. You can pop the tops off and give him a battle damage look. But for now, I think we're just going to go with standard. Get all those bags out of the way. So there's that effect. Two more of these, but then the center blast, this one is actually longer than the other one. So he's with fingers and joints like this, it begs the question, how well can he hold a figure? Because if we know our Sentinels, they're mutant hunting robots who want them within their grasps. Okay, so the hands are pretty expressive, which is nice. Let's see, who do we have with us? I mean, what would any Marvel collector be without a good Wolverine? This one is the first appearance 2-pack that came with the Hulk. However, it was the first appearance head, and I've been hunting for the right head to go with this to make like a perfect giant size X-Men team Wolverine. And the head I used was from the Secret Wars Wolverine, which is a pretty close match. It's not 100%, but it's really close. So let's see, we've got thumbs around and maybe he's got him. He's got him. Hey, Tin Woodsman, I'm sending you back to Oz in pieces. That was always my favorite line from the cartoon. Get all this out of the way. So, what did I plan to do with this? So, if I told you this was the only one I bought, I'd be lying. I actually have two. They're twins. A-okay. Because that was the other thing, because the HasLab was so big, these are slightly smaller, and I could probably use 2 for what I want to accomplish. Now, you may be asking yourself, Baron, what do you wish to accomplish? So, when I first ordered, or when I received the HasLab Sentinel, because I'm so like hung up on dioramas and stuff, I figured this would go great with the HasLab Sentinel. Can I fit everything here? And I started one. It looked okay. I was pleased with it. It was like 6 years ago or so. A little bare. However, in the past year, from what I've learned since then, I have retooled it, made it look a hell of a lot gross. There's so much more life to this, and it looks lived in. So here we have my Sentinel diorama. You can't see all of it. Let me just pick it up so you can. So we've got it's just messy. We've got toilets and ladders and bricks and even some nods to old Hasbro, early Hasbro Marvel Legends, because these are the 2 boxes that came with Tarantula, I believe. But I always thought these were kind of cool accessories, so I kept them. Well, lo and behold, I can use them now. So my idea was to have the 1, but maybe we can fit 2 in here. So we're going to put our battle damage 2 in here. Now, I'm going to have to be really careful so I don't knock all of this stuff over. Okay. Nervous. So I wasn't sure how much room all of these would take up. Because if there was still enough room, I was thinking about getting some of the Pulse Sentinel, the 6-inch or 7-inch ones at this point, from the arcade game. That would be a cool addition. But because these are so big, okay, so I have an idea here. So what I'm thinking, granted, I sized this up before I went live, before I open this. Because of the size, I'm thinking we have them fight here, and if I set it up in the right place, because he's like getting beat up and all, we'll have the other one behind here in the distance coming in, not battle damaged, ready to save his robotic brethren. And I'm thinking if the area that I want to use is deep enough, by putting him behind it, it's going to give some real depth to this, and just, you know, we got him charging in. So put him down, put our battle damage dude up here. I'm not going to play too much with all the posing because I'm going to bring in some friends. Okay, I'm liking the ratchet joints because each ratchet it's not like a huge amount of movement. Like the knees will get perfectly fine movement in it, but each ratchet is subtle enough that if I just need to tweak the legs just a little bit, it does great. So let's bring in some people. I don't have full access to all of my Marvel Legends because they're all boxed up. So who are we going to go with today? I mean, it wouldn't be an X-Men setup with Baron if we didn't have Beast. You know what? We won't go standard Jim Lee Blue Beast. How about we go, yes, Benny, how about we go 80s gray Avengers Beast? The Bounding Beast. How are we going to make this look good enough so it doesn't look like he's on the toilet? Okay, that works for now. Don't you chew on Monty King. Okay, he's just rubbing up on it. Colossus. More of a classic Colossus, not the new one that just came out. For the diorama here, I'm not just picking any assorted X-Men figures. I'm doing the full giant size team. And at this point in the line, we're lucky enough to have all of them, including Thunderbird, including Banshee, including Sunfire. So I'm going to incorporate all of them into this. This is going to be crammed. So I think best if, like, I think I'll probably have Nightcrawler because he's agile enough. He'll be crawling on him, um, but you know it's Colossus, so he's got to be. He's ready to take you out. There. And this wouldn't be complete unless these things. This is an old enough figure that these things don't stick on too well anymore. We'll go with Storm. And again, because I'm super hyper specific, we're going to go with 80s punk mohawk Storm. She looks confident. She's going to zap the living daylights out of this thing. Fingers in the way. But this whole idea has been, let's see, when did they announce this, the HasLab Sentinel? Like 2020, 2021? So this has been like a 5-year long process, and I'm really impressed what I've been able to do with it. I have some random other pieces that, you know, stick it here. So what you see here is not the final stuff that I have in here because I'll have to move that around. I have some other tubes and whatnot. So that kind of sums up why I wanted to do this. I've been holding on to this for a bit. I was going to do earlier this week. However, I had colored contacts in Sunday night and I got a bit of an eye irritation / infection, and I wasn't going to go live with a red puffy eye. So I think I'm good now. And the storm is falling. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? However, I came with an ulterior motive. I cannot talk, it's been a long day. Ulterior motive. There we go. Yes, Benny. Thank you. I have some announcements. As some of you may know, I have been trying to put myself out there with the tokusatsu stuff and doing panels. I've been doing the Metal Hero panel since November. At this point, I've done it 3 times. The past 2 times, I've done it solely by myself, which was absolutely nerve-wracking the first time, but I did it, and I proved to myself that I have the power within me to do this by myself. So, last weekend, I was at MisagoCon in Atlantic City that Sunday morning. And then when I came back, I got the email notices for not 1, but 2 conventions coming up in May. Back-to-back weekends. So I think we are doing May. Is it the 17th? Week is something like the 17th. I should have looked at the pictures before I went. But the first one is Geekdom Con. My friends and I presented there before. It's going to be me. We're going to talk Metal Heroes, as I have been for the past 7 months or so, because I mean, it's interestingly enough that when we first presented this, like 2 days before we went on, Toei announced that they were replacing Super Sentai with this new Gavan Infinity from Project Red, of which I have just started watching. There has been, how do I say, negative buzz around it from people for various reasons. So that kind of turned me off just a little bit, and the fact that the toys don't really appeal to me, unless they do a memorial version of that gun, may do that. So 2 days ago, I started. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. And while it bears very little resemblance to the classic 1982 Space Sheriff Gavan, especially because this one's red, I'm happy to say I'm really liking it. I'm more so than I expected. There's CGI to it, of which, if you know your Japanese TV, it's not always the greatest. For what it is, it's okay. With things like Kamen Rider and, to a lesser extent, Ultraman, but definitely Super Sentai, when they go heavy with the CGI stuff, it's too much. At least for me, and I'm not a huge fan of it, and they've only focused on it more and more in the past couple of years. However, since Gabon is more sci-fi based. I think the CGI elements lend itself better, and it doesn't feel as intrusive or obnoxious. Some of the designs of the villains layer is pretty cool. Um, there's that. The lead kind of impressed me. If you're familiar with your tokusatsu leads, specifically your Super Sentai Reds, especially over the past 15 years or so, when compared to their Showa era brethren, they're not as macho. I mean, not like overbearingly macho, with some exceptions. Not overbearingly macho. A little like they're very like bubbly and kind of kid like. And I get why they're marketing it that way so kids can latch onto that. But this guy, while he's young, he's pretty looking. He's got some gruff to him, just a little bit, and he's dynamic enough that I would keep watching. Very much like the Kenji Oba situation when Gavon started back in the 80s. They said, hey, if this show doesn't make numbers, we're canceling the show. So he made himself sure to be likable, and he successfully did that, and the series continued in other manifestations. But the series kept going. And then one thing I picked up with the original Metal Hero franchise, there was more of a focus on the stunt men and women of the JA. Was it still the JAC in the early 80s? JAC, JAE. And over Sentai and everything, it just felt like they were more on display, they were more revered, so to speak. After watching these first two episodes, they're focusing on the stunt team, and I really like that. That's a really nice call out, and just to acknowledge the stunt team that does so much in these shows and more or less goes unnoticed. But that was the first convention. The second convention is the following weekend, and that would be Fan Expo in Philadelphia. I was not expecting to get accepted from them, but here we are. I did. I have yet to be given a day and time. It sounds like that won't happen until mid-May when they put the full schedule out, but I was approved, so I'm going to be there, and this is probably potentially the biggest audience I would have at this point, because Fan Expo is one of the biggest ones in Philadelphia. So if you're in the area of there or Oaks, the previous weekend for the Geekdom Con, and you want to talk about all this tokusatsu stuff that I want to talk to everyone about, come on down. I will have pins, as I've had for the past year or two. I'm hoping to design a couple more to add, because they're starting to thin out after all I've given away. So I will be back soon with other things I would like to unbox. There are some things coming. We will go back to Maji King. He has some purpose as well. So, and Benny has been very good today. Yes, you have been. Not even a beep. So for Baron, I'm going to log off on here, and I can't fully reach out there, so this is going to be awkward. I'm just going to walk around and turn this off without stepping on my toes. Whew. That was a hell of a dance. All right.